Hey everybody, and welcome back to another feedback and review game for StarCraft 2. This is a game submitted by wooahSora's. There's a part 1 and a part 2. This is the part 1 video of the two. Basically, Sora stated in the Reddit forum that they were happy with how they did in late game. So you can see that the game is quite long, so we're going to go pretty quick. Things I did notice that the blue player, the Natezog, the Zerg, has quite a lot of supply blocks. And then later on, Sora also has some supply blocks. That being said, I don't want us to hang out too long on here, looking at this for too much time. But we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. And of course, it's a Terran versus Zerg, which Terran versus Zerg is most people's favorite game mode. I'm going to try and focus a little bit more today on what I see to make it so that we can, oh my goodness, 38, almost 39 minutes. All right, so good build order, grab a place here. We are focusing on the Terran perspective, particularly because I was the individual who asked. Normal build, does a little gap here. This is okay, you can do that, that's not a big deal. A nice scout, that's going to be pretty good timing. It's going to be able to tell you if the third's going down, all that kind of stuff. Grabs a refinery as expected. It's building that, getting the orbital immediately, doing a regular standard Reaper base expand. This is a totally normal regular build. One thing I would do, this is against Zerg, I would queue the rally over here for your Reaper. Like literally just have it queued, somewhere in this area, somewhere in this area, somewhere in this area. The reason being is you don't need to initially select that Reaper on a map this size or any of that kind of stuff. You're not going to run into any situation where the Zerglings are going to be like right here. So what you do is you like rally it over there, and then when it's traveling over there, you grab it, get your control group and all that kind of stuff under corrected and all that good stuff. Also, same concept with the Marine going over here. This map is too long. Don't put it there. Everybody likes watching action. The important stuff is actually what you do in your build. So we're getting a Hellion expand, where they're going to do probably two to 6 Hellions, at least initially 2, and then they'll go up from there. A little slow on the uptick for putting those down, so got to make sure that we're building both of those immediately. The Marine doesn't matter. Hellions, 2 Hellions are way more important. Also, the mule going down. I like to drop my first mule inside my mineral line at my home, inside my base. So the reason that I do that is that you don't get it picked off. Remember, every mule is the equivalency of basically a command center. It's one SCV short of command center per mule. So if you lose one, even if it does only 1 trip, you've lost a lot of money. If it only does 1 trip, even if it does 2 trips, that's not enough. So just kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, let's drop it on this one. It only has 1 harvester, all that kind of stuff. Also, make sure you check your mineral lines early game like now, and see that you have a triple line here. Grab that and send it appropriately. Good job killing the Overlord, preventing the scout, already having an expansion ready. You could have tossed that command center down here to make it so that you have a full wall already off of these 2 supply depots, and then you have the Hellions for defense. Generally speaking, as a Terran, you want to be on the other side of the map preventing creep spread. That being said, your opponent's not doing a very good job of spreading their creep, and they are supply blocked, so they are doing a ton of harm to themselves. They're not even building Overlords right now, and they have 900 minerals, 1,000 minerals, so they could be like expand here, expand here, expand here, and it would be no different for how they're currently playing. Obviously, they're getting ready to go into Hydras, putting down some spines, so your opponent's making a lot of mistakes, but you have no idea that they're making these mistakes. You have no idea what's going on over there. You're not doing anything to prevent creep spread. If they were a GM, the creep would be here, probably here, probably over here somewhere, and probably over here, that's a lot of vision that they're going to have that you're not shutting down. So eventually, when you start playing better players or people that aren't making mistakes, those Hellions need to be out on the map. Nice job on the Liberator. This can get some kills. Probably at least 3. Yep, there's 3. Cool. Liberator Harass is great. Doing some really cool stuff with that. He does have a spine, which is really weird. I probably would have just ran by and checked over here. Maybe try and knock this out versus losing your Hellions. It wasn't... That's hard to call, because there's only 5 or 6 workers over here. You did delay a little bit of mining, but you lost a Hellion or two, and you found out he has a spine. As soon as you saw the spine, I probably would have just killed the one creep tumor that was here and backed off. Probably gone over here, maybe gone over here. Maybe check to make sure that they're not expanding the creep out here. All right, back to what we're looking on your base. You're expanding into a third. You're getting your tech and stuff ready to go. You have money. Money. So spend your money. This is so terribly important. You would have won this game way earlier, I'm sure, had you been spending your money. You could be building Marines. You could have had your tech lab getting you your stim pack. Stim should be going pretty much as fast as you can if you're going to go bio. Obviously, you're going bio in this case. You decided to make 3 barracks. So stim is like higher priority than your second medevac. Even your first medevac, honestly. It is so very important. If you see yourself floating this much money, drop command center, drop 3 racks, and then be cool. Good job pulling back, using Marine to defend and check everything out. Your opponent is attacking with 4 units. What are we doing here, Zerg? Okay. Well, point being is make sure that you're continuously building stuff. Resaturate correctly, so take 8 workers. Just grab like this, deselect the mule, hit that shift key, click on it, and then just right click. It's okay if it's not perfectly saturated, at least initially. Same with your main. Nice, you got that stuff going on. You did exactly what I said to do. You're just really slow about doing it, and that's okay. But stim. You should have stim immediately. The other thing to do is, because you are Terran, you are harass focused. That means that these Marines and these medevacs should not be at home. You don't have enough Marines. You don't need that many medevacs yet. Obviously, you're teching up and you're getting ready to do your thing. But, like, the goal... okay. From a technical standpoint, Terran against Zerg. The game is about aggression to prevent and damage your Zerg opponent as much as possible. If your Zerg opponent is a good Zerg, and I'm not saying this person is bad, it's based off skill level, all that kind of stuff, they are going to be able to explode in income. They are going to have more workers than you by a long shot. They're going to max out before you do. If you do not do damage to them, they will do this. The way you do damage is forcing them to not build drones and make it so that they have to build more army. Right now, they have 66 harvesters, which is kind of low. They should be more like 80 right now. They have the money. They have, like, their supply is really low. They didn't grab all those bases when we were talking about it. They're doing stuff weird, like putting down spine crawlers. One spine crawler makes sense. That if you don't have 2 queens, you want a spine crawler on your newest base, fine. But doing another spine crawler, like, spine crawlers lose validity as soon as you don't have more than, like, once your Hellions are gone, or you don't use your Hellions constantly, don't build spines. Unless you're, like, late game and you're just trying to prevent run-bys or you're whatever. There's exceptions to everything everybody says always. Fine, period. Point being is that this player has 900 minerals. They could easily have this base, they're making this base, have this base, and this base all at the same time. They could have also had significantly more workers. This person, I can tell you, is either newer for a Zerg, or they haven't figured out how to abuse Zerg. If I was in this situation, I would either be banking for mutas, which they're not building mutas, they're building lurkers. They don't have enough hydras to support this. If you took your entire army across the map, you could theoretically win because they just don't have the army to deal with you. They have, 9 queens? Not even? 5 queens. That's not enough to deal with what you have. You don't know that because you're not being aggressive. You're not forcing them to build military units. 2, you don't, because you're being so passive, this game is going to go late game. Zerg, generally speaking, is going to have the ability to cover the map and make your life really troublesome, and they're able to respond to you very effectively. The goal of Terran is to truly make it so your opponent is being multitasked to death, making it so that their weak units are getting picked off and they're not able to build drones. This player has about 10 mutas worth of resources just sitting there. They have enough larvae for it, but you don't know if they're going to go lurker. You don't know if they're going Spire. You don't know if they're going Hydra. You don't know if they're going Ultra. You have no idea on any information at all. So your scouting information is totally lacking since you pulled those 3 Hellions back and lost that 1 Marine to that army of 4 units. Like, you literally lost that army to 4 units. And your army far surpasses theirs. But you don't know that. You have no idea. In addition, you're behind on your base expansion because you're already fully saturated and you haven't you're like oversaturated. You're kind of a little late. 6 workers behind. You should probably be on location versus somewhere else. Your opponent didn't kill anything. They haven't done any damage to you. You literally killed whatever little army they sent across the map. You should be exploding as well. You're behind on your macro for sure. Okay. Back to like where we're kind of at. I do like the expansion in your production. I do like the command center build out. I do like the continued tank production for now. I don't know if that's going to be a good choice later on. At this point, you need to have more information to make that decision. Sensor towers are good. I probably would have put it over here to make it so that you're protecting this base, and they think that they can attack here until you're able to build out, and then you grab your mineral lines and have it. And I would have set a second one either right here or like right here behind the mineral line. So that way you have the most information you possibly can moving as forward as possible, as well as protecting with information extra bases. A lot of Zergs don't like running into sensor towers, or they like doing multi-prong stuff. Also, note you have a gap here, and you have a gigantic gap here. So if they had gone air, you would have no warning until they were already in your base. Again, we were talking about how much money they had. Like, they are just not spending their resources effectively. Their production is 2 overlords when they have 2k minerals and 1500 gas. They should have 22 overlords coming out. Actually, that's too many. But the point being is they should basically never get supply blocked again because they should have exploded. Your army's moving across. Good job. I like how you're grabbing this. I like how you grab this. Get this tech up wherever you're going to do it. Where your upgrades at, 2-2. No weapons. That's okay. Changeling made it into your army, so your opponent knows exactly what you're doing, which is fine. I miss those all the time too. It happens. I don't quite understand this decision. You were moving out and then you stopped. You're at 173 supply against 112. You could have ended the game. You don't know that because you're not putting any pressure on your opponent at all. Your opponent's not doing anything to you. Send a Marine. Check how many bases. Just queue it up around the edge on either side. And that way you know your opponent's base count. If you know your opponent's base count, you know that they are definitely underpowered right now. You would be able to get really, really far into their space, killing a lot of creep, doing a lot of damage to a lot of different things. You can see what they sent. Look, they only have like 20 units, which is fine. Like this again, everybody's at different skill levels. Everybody's learning. I'm just articulating that you kind of now know what you're going up against, and you're doing a good job of spreadies, but like you're really, 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 really far into creep, and it's a good job of cleaning it up. You found a lurker and you went to attack it. Didn't quite kill it. You need to go ghosts immediately, or liberators. Start going into liberators, start going into ghosts. That's how you counter lurker. Those are the 2 units, and I don't see that production happening in your production tab. I'm going to go ahead and speed up a little bit. Natezog. That sucks. Right near your mineral line. That was oversaturated. And then you ran in a straight line. And then you didn't clean up the Nidus. And then your army got cleaned up. You have this other army that you're going out. Good job sniping the lurker den. But this player has so much money, it's silly. I like how this Nidus worm is just hanging out. But yeah, we'll get to the late game where you actually care a little bit more. That you're talking about where you felt really good. My point is that this game should have never gotten to the late game. You have been way ahead basically the whole time. Your opponent has done nothing to slow you down, but you've done nothing to slow them down. Oh, come on, kill that lurker. No. You could also get ravens. That's another option. Mass command centers. There's a lot of ways that you could take advantage. But ghost for the lurkers is definitely a necessity, or liberators, or both. Professionals like both, but they require a decent amount of micro on both sides. Ooh, I like the infestor play. I see broodlords. Where's the corruptors to stop all this? Like the composition of your opponent is questionable. Also, nice snipe. Grabbing random overlords is nice here and there. At this point, you've allowed your opponent to get to the tech that they want, which is broodlords and lurkers, and corruptors, obviously. So you're like just really far behind on what you want to be doing. The corruptors are your problem now, so you need to go ghosts. And you are. You built 4 ghosts at a time, but you're not anymore. You're maxed out, so take a contingency of units and just... I mean, a drop was nice. Cool. But you could take like 10 or 15 Marines and just send them to the other side of the map, and you can just like kill a base. And you only need the Marines. You don't need medevacs or anything else. Just send that handful of whatever. Good job killing the lurker, the corruptors. Again, your opponent has so many resources. They are. If the game goes to ultimate late game, they're an advantage, but otherwise they're just showing you their skill level here. You're doing a good job of pushing them away and all that stuff. Ooh, that sucks. This game has another 20 minutes. Tanks at this point is totally useless. Stop building them. I don't think you have been building them since, but I just want to like articulate that. As soon as Brood Lords come out, you pretty much don't want to interact with them. Oh my goodness, your ghosts are doing so much work. You could have chased that down. He's not remaxing nearly as fast as they should be. 32 lings, 5 hydras. They should be active. I like the command center moving up. These tanks are like sacrificial at this point. You don't need that many. So like get rid of these 3, 4 maybe, or spread them out over here more. Remember, he's got broodlords, so you're going to run into a situation where your tanks are literally killing your own units or similar, and they're not very helpful with regards to how you fight. So you don't want this many tanks. You want the supply in something else. That being said, your monetary situation. A move. I don't know. I still don't like that many. I still don't like that many tanks. That's a lot. This needs to be active. Yeah, Terran is one of those races where you have to be really active all the time. If you're not active all the time, you're leaving a lot of value on the table. And the longer you're inactive, the more often that situation is like you passing up opportunities. It sucks, leaving a ghost. No. As I said, like just Marines, Marauders with this kind of run by. You don't want to lose your value units like the ghosts. You should be transitioning to like a solid Ghost Liberator army, and maybe some medevacs, like maybe 4. And that's it. That's all you want. Everything else is kind of meh. I like these lings just on you. You don't need to. So you're late enough in the game that you no longer do drops. You literally just run them. It's better to have them running across the map versus flying. The reason that you don't fly is because they have corruptors. They're just going to kill your medevac. They don't care. Also, they're going to just have things underneath you all the time. So it's like you deny the creep spread and you run back and that's it. Moving the tanks up at the very least would be a good idea. I mean, I understand what you're doing and it's great. Oh my goodness, all these ghosts. So many snipes. Beautiful. Repair. So, okay. Trick. When you go to repair, you can auto repair. Okay, cool. Or you go and move them to the location to repair, then you hit hold position, and then you hit auto repair. That way that they don't move from that position and they just repair. Also 24 kills. Oh my god, that's so awesome. Again, creep spread is so wild. You've killed this base several times, which is great. Your opponent's putting down spines and stuff. That's why I was saying send, 15-ish Marines and Marauders around. Send your tanks, just sack them. You don't need them. The reason being is because you want to make sure that you deny your opponent bases, having them to respend resources. And a lot of those units are no longer useful. Those ghosts are literally all you care about. Everything else in your army, your Vikings are probably fine. Your Liberators are the other piece that you cared about because they have so many... what's the word I'm looking for? They're the way that they're pushing you is with a combination that you can easily shut down what they're doing. Ooh, look at that. So good. Oh no, all those ghosts so forward and they know no invis. Ah, scan again. Scan again. Rough. Basically, your opponent is building a composition that you are doing a good job of having the correct stuff for, but it is about scanning and such, so you need to have enough orbitals, and you need to make sure that you have enough units doing your thing. Why are these not cleaning this up? Like, this should have been dead ages ago. I don't know how like... Here's the deal. The biggest and most important thing that I can say. And don't get me wrong, you're playing well. You're doing a lot of really good things. Your snipes are on point. Your scans are pretty solid. You've done a good job of denying this base multiple times. You should probably continue to do that. Make sure that he never puts this base down. And if you could help it, also denying this base. So you snipe this base, then take the army and bring it back. Have a planetary here. That way, when they come to defend and stop you from doing that, you have an anchor. Maybe you put your tanks here. Same with this side, right? You have your planetary, kill this, put another planetary there, leap off of those bases. Your opponent has more than half the map. This is your base. This is the last of their bases that they haven't touched. This base you haven't touched. You're starting to fall behind on income and resources. But because of the trades that you guys have been doing, you are actually you're doing like really, really well, and you've eaten through their bank. So that's what I'm trying to say, where if you had continued to deny this base and this base, your opponent would probably tap out because they have 57 minerals, 260, 255, 300, 400, 400, 300. And then this one base. And that's what? I mean, that's another 2k resources-ish. Of course, gas on top of that. But like, your opponent, you're giving them the opportunity to get all these resources here and here after doing a really good job with trades and pushing them away. And they kind of just crushed against you constantly. Also get your ship grade. Just continue to upgrade your upgrades. Just 333 across the board. Make sure you repair your planetaries all the way up. Sorry, I digress. Point being is that the way that Terran functions is that you want to stop building SCVs eventually. You have currently 52. The reason you don't want to build any more SCVs is because you have mules. So anytime you get low on minerals, like you are right now, whatever base is fresh, you just drop 10 mules. You now you're flush with 3,000 plus minerals, 3,500 minerals every time you do that. So you build extra command centers and make sure that none of your SCVs are idle. And every time they attack, you just let your SCVs die, or you sacrifice them. You literally just attack locations and scouting things, or be annoying just sending them across the middle of the map. You just attack towards their main or something like that. The reason you do that is because then your army, which can be consistent of ghosts, liberators, tanks, Thor. You saw Broodlords. Thor's a really good unit. So on and so forth. Those units are really, really hard to deal with, especially if you're able to mass them. Marines and Marauders, they're great, but use them as a hit squad. Tell them, attack this, ignore them completely. Just like Q there, and then ignore them. Or have them kill it and then pull back, and you just check on it after a couple of minutes. And if they go sacrifice, cool. They did some damage, they traded out, you now have more supply. Obviously, you're not capped out, but you have more supply to build things that you care about, like those more powerful units. The tanks in this situation, fine. Eventually you rotate back into them because of Broodlord count you destroyed, and you saw that they stopped building them. So your tank production actually worked out in your favor, and I'm not like you're definitely fine with it. I'm just letting you know those are like some things that I was thinking about looking at. Liberator placements. You don't really have very many liberators, only 2, and I think that's a mistake. Also, long distance mining, that's great. I say that sarcastically. Good job pushing the creep back. The reason, there's some more liberators. I was waiting for them. You still have 20 supply. Make sure that you fix that. You're doing fine. I don't really have any complaints about anything you're doing. Those trades are perfectly acceptable. That's why you wanted a planetary here versus not, versus an orbital. The orbitals you just want to keep kind of protected back, not in your main necessarily, but like protected back in the middle of your bases. The reason being is that you are that's your mule production, and every time you lose an orbital, you're losing scans, you're losing mules. You don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. Also, yuck. That's why I'm saying, hey, place a new building, put a planetary there, set yourself up for success. Also, gold is so valuable, that's so much minerals, and they go so fast. Mules are not the choice there. You want to grab this base a little bit earlier on. This is probably, you want this one after this base. You want this base first with that planetary right there, because it's a much stronger position to hold. But that's so many resources that are just sitting there that are very useful for you. Good job spotting your opponent, doing a little trade over. You didn't re-siege. Also moving your tanks forward, like getting them like a little bit closer to this area. There's only one unit you care about, and that's the Infestor, and you only do 1 EMP at a time. I have a clip. I didn't load it. I'm sorry. I had a clip from yesterday or a couple of days ago where I literally took. It was one ghost EMP, and it just destroyed a bunch of storms. Your opponent's trading out in a way that does not affect you. You don't care. You don't retake the space. You lift the orbital and move it back. Armory is very exposed. I wouldn't have it that far forward. You already have this one, so it doesn't matter. Did a lot of damage. You are at 0 resources, sir, or madam. This is why taking the space, dropping those mules. Once you have the ability to get the space, drop the mules. Oh, do you have any scans available? Just barely. But like, you can see, you're slowly leapfrogging forward now. And that's how you kind of... And then you did the run-bys. Look, you're doing everything I'm doing. Just suggesting, just a lot later than I had suggested. Creep is super dangerous. I think you understand that. You've been doing a good job of cleaning it up. On the edges of your bases, which is... I definitely would be cognizant of that stuff. Good job. A little late on the EMPs, but that's okay. You're doing so much damage. You're killing everything that's value added. Your opponent is... that was a good trade for you, resource-wise, but you don't have the bank right now, and they're taking your gold base. So I have a feeling this is going to end up being an L, just simply because you didn't grab your gold base, 1, and 2, you didn't. You allowed them to continue to take bases back and forth like this one. This base should have been denied a bazillion times. This base should have been denied a billion times. This should have been a jump-off point with a planetary. This should have been a planetary. Your sensor tower was here. Losing this is irrelevant. Who cares? Yeah, I wouldn't be sending my lone orbitals out there. I would make sure that it's clear before I do it. But this is going to keep you in the game. I don't know if it's going to end how it's going to end the game for you, but it's definitely helpful. I do like you having this hit squad ready to go. Oh, Changeling. Good job. You were looking at it. I love it. I don't know if I would have killed the rocks there. I probably would have just not at all bothered with them because A move, A move, A move. Ah! EMPs. That was a good EMP. Ghosts going down to stuff with the fungals. That was a really good game. You played really, really well. I still think you could have stuck it out a little bit more. I think you were just not aware of where you were in the game. Yeah, denying bases is super important. You can see that your opponent has, at this point, 1 mining base, 2 mining bases, 3 mining bases, 4 mining bases, while you have a total of 1. And they took 2 of your bases eventually. That's why this is a bigger anchor point, and your opponent's going to try and deny it. And you want your opponent to try and deny it because you're going to make it very heavily defended. Because this is going to be a jump point to make sure you can control this location, make sure that this base is safe. And then up here, same concept, right? If you make this a jump off point, you can deny this base. So you have to choose which side of the map your opponent's going and try and like bump heads with them. You want to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where they just have a slightly better army at the end, have a bigger bank, etc. And to be very clear, this Zerg is not spending their money. If they had gone select all of their hatches and then took all 63 larvae and built just straight Hydra or Lings or whatever combination of units that they wanted, this game would have been unwinnable for you without some extremely fancy footwork. Also moving tanks forward as you get pushed back. Like, too many tanks on top of each other. Because if they had done the Blinding Cloud, you just done. Creates a cloud that reduces attack range. Yeah. Like, had they just done one Blinding Cloud here and attacked, you had nothing. But move your tanks forward eventually, so spread out your tanks a little bit better, move them forward. Nice job keeping up the tank production. Once you kind of identified that they were no longer growing Broodlords, I still think you should have cut them for a little while. Not a bad game in any way, shape, or form. So the good, you actually did a really good job of building the proper army, having a really good solid build order, and making it so that you were in a position to get to the late game. The things that you could improve on. Getting better information on what your opponent's doing via harassment. So when we go back and we look at like the 10-minute mark, you've not approached your opponent for at least 4 minutes. Imagine if you had sent that army and attacked your opponent when they had 100 supply and you had 175. And you obviously, I have full information, or 200 supply and they only have 127. Your army is far superior to what they have. So like, move your tanks up as you go and clear the creep, right? Your tank should be boop, boop, boop at this point. This army should be like supported by these tanks. Tank here, tank here, tank here. Obviously the Nidus was really annoying and it made it so that you had a lot of stuff going on. But like you separated from your tanks. Had you continued to push your army forward together, all of your army together, you could have easily won the game. This is all he has, essentially. And he uses this whole army. Like, he didn't reposition and re-attack. Just... I know it's like, after the time, it's very obvious what's going on. But, like, also, this is a cool snipe. I like that a lot. But I would have probably suggested just keeping your army together at 200, your almost 200 supply army, and attacked my opponent in one position all together, trying to get stuff. If I was going to split off, it would literally be 1 medevac and 8 Marines. Or 1 medevac, 2 Marauders, and 4 Marines. That's all I would send elsewhere. The reason being is that punch that you're pushing forward is going to win you the game, or is going to be really hard for your opponent to deal with. I suspect that your opponent is either holding back because they are a smurf, because they have 40 some odd larvae, and they're not doing anything with it. And they're not really killing you when they're like just not spending their resources at all. Or there's somebody that's new. And it's really hard to tell a lot of times. Ooh, tank all alone. Ugh, yuck. The fact that they have lurkers, the fact that they went into high tech and they like gripped things suggests to me that they were they're either smurfing or they're like they just don't use those like they use some of those units off. That was a really good liberator. I totally missed it. But like their income is at 68. Like I don't know. It's hard to say. It was a good game. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was a very good game on both players' behalf in certain aspects. Spend your money when you're maxed out and you're banking like that. Build the Iron Bank, as it's called. Build like 3 or 4 command centers, make them orbitals. Use those to gain resources. You can sack your SCVs appropriately. Make sure that you continue to... God, like, this army composition is hard to deal with. You have so many tanks, though, so eventually it doesn't matter. And then that one Viking is going to shoo away all of these Broodlords because Viking versus ground units only. That's funny. But, like, yeah, this is... There are some things that are very... You did a really good job of pre-spreading. You had a really good army composition. You maxed out. You fought against really tough unit compositions very well. But once you took the advantage, you didn't ever capitalize on it, if that makes sense. And you never knew you were in the advantage to finish that off. That being said, in short, the good. Your build order to begin with was great. Don't lose your Reaper. Reaper is super important. You need your Reaper with your Hellions. Build more. Make sure that your Hellions are on the map, and build your command center in your wall with your 2 supply depots to actually give you a full wall. The reason that you do that is so that you then have a place where you want your army, and you're ready to move closer to your 3rd here, or if you know they're there, a 3rd here for both locations, and your wall is completed significantly earlier. Transition a little bit earlier with your ghosts, just a little bit, maybe a minute, or well, actually a lot earlier. You should probably have it about 14 minutes is pretty much where you want to have your first Ghost Academy out. When you get to better players, you'll start to notice things where it's like, oh, I'm slow. Your expansions were a little bit slow as well. Like you built the command center that was here just a little bit tiny too late, right? The one that was right here. Like you had almost double saturation on this base by the time you took this base. And that being said, like making sure that you're expanding constantly. Like as soon as the command center finishes, it's pretty much time to start a new command center after about the 12, 15 minute mark. And that way you'd have taken this base, you'd have taken this base, you know what I mean? Like you would have just had all the bases and you'd have been more spread out, but it would have been okay because you lost command center. You'd still have 3 others that you just didn't have before. Other things. When you do hit squads later game, Liberators are great. I love doing Liberator Harass. But like a handful of Marines and Marauders with 1 medevac and replace the medevac, get Ghosts as a replacement. It's like a good transition, or get more Vipers, Liberators, or more Ghosts, or more Thors, or whatever you're going to get that makes it so that you're upgrading your tech, but you're doing things that are annoying to your opponent. So you have like a group of 10 Marines and 5 Marauders, 10 Marines and 5 Marauders, and 2 medevacs each, and you replace it all with tanks, or with like Thor and whatnot at the end game. Things that your opponent did really well was they transitioned appropriately. They need more Corruptors with this army. They kind of went down every tech path, which is not what you want to do. You want to kind of pick a tech path, stay on that tech path until you get into an engagement, or you're maxed out. And then once you're maxed out, you transition from one tech path to the other. And so like going into Lurkers and Greater Spire together at the same time is kind of weird. So if they had just said, oh, I'm going to grab Lurkers, I'm going to have Hydras, I'm going to have Lings to support that, and some Banes to support that, because Bio is tough sometimes. That army composition is a good composition. And then they transition, and they go, oh, what is my opponent doing? They see, oh, Ghosts. They do not want to go, like, they don't want to go Corruptors. They don't want to go Broodlords at that point, so they don't go that way. They go Ultras, which, again, they probably don't want to go that way with that composition. But I think you understand what I'm trying to articulate with the fact that, also, no need to pick that up. You could have just literally just moved it over here. Like, you're being fancy when you don't need to be. And that's okay. Like, I understand you're learning. I did fancy stuff when I was learning too. Golly, that's a ball of Marines, and oh god, that's tough. But getting rid of the Lurkers is so important. And obviously you did. Like, right now, they have 8 Hydras, 45 Wings. You have 11 tanks, 3 Ghosts, 15 Marines, 5 Marauders, and a handful of other stuff. If you unsieged, moved all of it across, you could kill this base, you could kill this base, and then you win the game. Like, just having the, hey, I just took a really good trade, let me unsiege everything and move across the map, is not, and then you have a good production here, is a good way to win the game. Then again, you don't know how much they have, you don't know how many larvae they banked, because you haven't been harassing. They wouldn't have any larvae if you had just been constantly using Hellions to, like, or run-bys. You know what their army composition was, how many units they were. You'd be trading out constantly. You'd be making their life very expensive. So this bank wouldn't exist. This supply would probably be the same, and they wouldn't have any larvae. Sorry. For your opponent, max out, then attack. And then when you are attacking, max out again, and then send that army in a different location, unless you are winning very thoroughly in that location. Like this base could easily have gone down. These tanks are too far back. You don't have enough marine support and other stuff. The ghosts are all out of energy. The tanks and such are all located a completely different area of the map, which you should know about, right? You have these corruptors here. And if you just attacked this, pounded this location a little bit harder, you probably could have taken it out, and that would have caused your the Terran a lot more problems. Regardless, really good games. I definitely think there's opportunities for improvement. There always is. Even if you were a professional, I could probably find some things that you could do to improve. And that's somebody that's not even... I'm mid-diamond, right? I'm not great. But there, you could feel that you're learning some units and stuff, and that was great. That's awesome to have happen. We're going to go ahead and the next upload after this one will be part 2. I'm going to do it right after this, just so you all know. But I just wanted to be very clear on the expectations for loading on these. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and thanks for watching.